All right. So, hello, Kat. How are you? How are you? How are you?
I'm good. Busy but good.
Yeah, I know this is the second time that you've been on the podcast. So, I know a lot of people already know who you are, but in case we have someone who has never seen you before, why don't you kick things off by telling us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name's Kat. I'm also known as the Nurse Flipper here on YouTube, and I have been reselling off and on since the early 90s, but got back into it seriously in 2019 after I had my son, and I really pushed to build it up because I wanted to be home with him more. So I went full time in February of 22. So I've been full time reselling just over 3 years now, and I sell everything. A lot of jewelry. Jewelry is definitely one of my favorites, but I will sell anything that I can make a profit on.
Right, right. And I know at the very beginning of my learning about jewelry journey, I watched a lot of your videos. And so um, your content is very educational, but I just think too, it really kind of gives people a realistic view of, how to do this, how to find jewelry,
Yeah.
how to search on eBay, things that a lot of people I think talk about in other categories, but not really as it relates to jewelry.
Yeah. Yeah, I love jewelry, especially like because it's so small, right? It doesn't take up a
Hmm.
ton of space. It's pretty readily available. You can find plenty of it, and it's not hard to ship. So
Yes.
it's definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I love it too, because it's small, so you can store thousands of pieces in a very small space in your home. And like you said, it's very easy to ship. And, jewelry just kind of has a mass appeal. Like, I don't really know anybody who doesn't like it in some way, shape, or form, men,
Yeah,
women, whatever. So, um, I think jewelry will always have a place, especially as a reseller. You don't have to be a full time jewelry reseller, but I think it's something that if you come across, you should definitely have some basic knowledge so you can add it into your inventory because it really is a wonderful, profitable category to sell in.
yeah, for sure.
All right. So, for those of you who may not know, Kat and I both were speakers at this year's Boss Reseller Remix. It was such a fun event. How did you like it, Kat?
I liked it. I love going to Vegas. And I like to gamble, but I like all the stuff there is to do. Like last time when we went, like we took Dalton to the kids museum, which is absolutely amazing there.
Oh,
And this time we went off-roading. Me and the kids went off-roading, and then we drove up to Mount Charleston and saw snow, which I didn't even know that existed there. So we had a really good time, and I love the networking and getting to hang out with everybody, both professionally and then, at the events outside of there as well.
yeah. And it's so like I love in-person events because it's such a different way of learning and connecting and immersing yourself in, in this case, reselling. Because you and I met not last year, the year before, but we didn't really talk that much. Like it was just kind of a hi bye kind of thing.
I didn't, yeah, the one that was the last one, which was 2 years ago, that one
Right.
I didn't really stay much at that one because Dalton was little, and so I was out doing things with him. So we weren't there a ton. This time I was there a lot more. I wasn't there the whole time, like start to finish every day, but I was there a lot more, so I got to talk to people a little bit more this time.
Yeah, yeah. And plus cuz I think cuz we both were speakers, I think we were there a lot more than
Yeah,
before. So, but I really enjoyed your presentation because you talked about how to source online. And I
yeah,
know so many people do that now because the thrift stores are just hit or miss, or they're just way overpriced, or some people live in areas where they don't even have a
Yeah.
Goodwill or a thrift store or, yard sales or flea markets or whatever the case may be. So, what are some like beginner tips for people who want to source online, especially jewelry? Because you have really a lot of experience doing that.
Yeah, I would say find which site works for you. I use Hybit a lot, which is nationwide, so you can get stuff shipped. Jewelry is pretty easy to get shipped. And then there's like CT bids. Max sold is like an estate auction. So like my people that are in California, they don't really have estate auctions on like high bid or CT. We have to do max sold. So you kind of have to figure out for your location if you're wanting to pick up. If you're not wanting to pick up, it doesn't really matter. I used to do a ton of jewelry on Shop Goodwill. I haven't looked there in forever. I'm sure it's still there, but I tend to stick to what I know and what I like, which is high bid, and I can find as much as I want. If I wasn't able to, then I would of course go look somewhere else. I would say some of the big things is paying attention to a whether they ship, because not
Right,
everywhere does. Even if it's jewelry and it would be easy to ship, don't assume that all of these estate companies ship, because a lot of them do not. And some of them will charge you insane amounts. They will charge you like $20 a lot. And if that lot is just a single ring or necklace, that's a lot to add. Sometimes it might be worth it, if it's hundreds and hundreds of dollar piece, then yeah, I might pay $20 for them to ship it. But if it's a $50 piece, I'm not going to want to pay. So check the shipping terms, I would say, and the handling fees, and if they charge per lot or how they do it, because some of them will just charge you what it costs to ship. I have a
mm-hmm.
few like that, and then others will charge you, like I said, per lot, or they'll do a handling fee. I have found that with some of them, they'll ship in house if you don't get a lot, but if you buy too much, they send it to UPS, which ends up costing you 3 times more.
Right,
So you got, like, I know when I'm bidding, I'm like, oh, they're not going to ship to me. Like, I know they're going to send me to the UPS store. I over the years, like with some of them I buy so regular, I kind of know their line as far as how far I can push them with their in-house shipping. So I think the shipping cost is really important. And like, that's why I like to buy lots, because a $50 shipping charge spread out over 50 pieces, I'm only adding $1 a piece. But if I only bought 2 pieces, I'm adding, $25 to each one. If they shouldn't charge me $50 for 2 pieces of jewelry. But I've had some charge me like $30 for only a few pieces, and I'm like,
oh
it
wow.
costs $5 to ship this, and it's not hard. So you definitely have to be careful about that. Like sterling, I haven't really had any bad experiences with like people saying stuff sterling and it's not. Most of them will let you know
Mm-hmm.
if they don't know. Um, Authenticity, though, make sure you read. A lot of them will sell fake pieces, and they'll just put that it's not authenticated, and that's kind of how they get around it. I know, like most of us as resellers, we can't do that. You can't go put a fake Chanel piece on eBay or Posh without getting. Most of the time, you'll get got if you try and do that. But the online estate companies don't have that, regulation and policing, so they will sell them purses and jewelry. They will sell fakes, and they just put not authenticated. And I feel like most of the time they probably know
Right.
that it's not real. So I learned the hard. I finally got rid of it. I had a Louis Vuitton purse that I bought like that, and I spent over $200 on it. And learned the hard way. I paid for authentication to find out it was fake, and
Oh
so
wow.
now, unless it's one that I know, I tend to stay away from like the designer, brand names, especially the ones that are copied a lot.
Right. So how did you know that your Louis was a fake?
I wanted to get it. Most of the higher dollar stuff, if I don't know specifically where it comes from, I want to get it authenticated.
Oh,
So
so
I go
you
to Real
paid to get it
Authentication. I paid,
authenticated.
yeah.
Oh,
So
okay,
I
okay.
paid over 200 plus I paid 30 to an authentication company to find out it was fake.
So what
There
did
were
you end
two of
up doing with it? Because I have a Chanel bag, which I don't think is real, but I don't know. But I want to sell it. But then I'm worried because I'm like, well, if it's not real, I don't
One
want someone
I ended
to.
up giving to my late. I have somebody I give stuff to that has a flea market booth. I just gave it to her and counted it
Oh,
as a
okay.
loss. And then the other one, that because there were two of them, I gave to my daughter-in-law for Christmas. And I told her, though, I did tell her, I'm like, this is not a real bag, because I didn't. I'm like, man, like I spent all this money. I need to like
Right,
do
right.
something with it. But I don't think like legally you can really sell it anywhere. I think it's illegal.
Yeah. Well, I know because they have this with jewelry too, like Chanel and Tiffany and Dior and
Right.
whatever. And so what I have learned is like as long as you're not saying it's a Dior or a Chanel or a Tiffany, and you say replica, but you don't use the actual brand name, that's how some of these sellers were kind of skirting around the issue.
Yeah.
Not on eBay, but they have their own independent websites, and so there's a lot of sites out there that sell replicas.
The knockoffs, yeah.
Uh-huh. And they sell them. And the thing is they're not claiming them to be real, but when you look at the photos, you assume, oh, this is a Tiffany or this is a Chanel
Yeah.
piece. So that's just something you have to be aware of too, because I think the fake luxury goods, bags, jewelry, clothing, whatever, it just continues to be a problem. So
Yeah, and it's hard because when you're buying online, you can't see it in person. You can't touch it. You can't,
exactly.
feel it, which is some of the stuff like it's a giveaway, if you are buying in person, but you cannot do that when you're buying online. So you have to be really, really careful. One of my favorite, I like the people that don't take good pictures. That comes to almost gambling. I'm gambling with my business. Um, because if I have an estate sale that has tons of high dollar items and then they have a jewelry lot, most of the time I'm going to assume that they probably had, some jewelry that's decent, and I'll take a chance on the lot, even if I can't see any, name brands or anything on it. And a lot of people get mad and they're like, oh, I wish they'd take better pics so I could see it better. I don't, because if the better picks they take, the more people are going to see the name brands and the more it's going to sell for. So I'm all about like crappy pictures and no good that like jewelry lot. I don't
Right.
like that's what I mean, you know?
Yes.
So that's the thing too, is like when you're searching, search very, very basic. Cause if you try and get specific, you're going to miss out on a lot of things, because a lot of these companies will just put jewelry lot and that's
Right.
it. They're not going to put, if it's necklaces, is it sterling, is it vintage, and so you might miss out. And it takes time. It takes a lot of time. When I'm actively looking for a certain thing, I might scroll for 8 hours sitting on the couch,
Right.
just looking and looking and looking and looking. And the nice thing, most times, if you find a good lot, they have other good lots. So once you find it, you just look at what else they have. But it could take, 6 or 8 hours to find that one thing, because there are so many lots on there, and a
Mhm.
lot of it is crap. It's not worth it. So it's a lot of time. But luckily it's from your couch or wherever you're at, and you can watch TV or do whatever else while you're scrolling for hours.
Yeah, you just reminded me about something too, going back to the shipping, because I bought several jewelry lots on high bid not too long ago, and each lot was from like a different seller.
Hmm.
So they don't combine the shipping. I had to pay
Oh no,
shipping.
because they're all over the country.
Exactly. And so I had to pay three different shippings for these lots because they don't have them to bundle it or to combine it. So that's another thing you got to be careful with too. Is like if you're going to bid on multiple lots or multiple pieces, whatever, multiple listings, whatever, be careful with that because you will pay individual shipping prices for each
That's
thing.
why when I find one, like on HiBid specifically, there's a button that says like view other items from this seller or like view
Hmm.
the rest of the catalog or whatever it says. And so that's why when I find one lot, I don't keep looking at that master search list. Then
Right,
I go into their catalog and I see what else they have so that it will combine. And that's actually the way I found a lot of high dollar stuff that I was not looking for, because I figure if I have one or two
mm,
lots I want from them, I'm going to buy from them, I'm going to pay shipping, I'm going to look at everything they have.
right.
And that's how I found my Harley pens. I found 600 Harley pens for, I think I ended up paying $600, but I've made at least $6,000 on those. But I was looking for something else totally random, not motorcycle related at all. Looked at the rest of the catalog and happened to see these Harley pens. So definitely, like if you're looking for sterling, you might run into, higher end costume. Don't, like, once you find one lot, I suggest looking at their whole catalog is a big thing.
Yeah, that's really smart too, because I think a lot of people get overwhelmed with the online auction because I know I did in the beginning. And like you said, it does take hours and hours of scrolling. And what I was doing is every day I was checking because they put new stuff up. So it's
Yeah.
also a daily thing. And sometimes I'm checking multiple times a day because I want to see did they just list something or is something new or whatever. So it really is time intensive, but the thing is what I like to communicate is like you have to it's like you're going to pay one way or another, right? You're either going to drive all over town, or you're going to spend hours online.
Sit and
So
scroll.
it's just a matter
Yeah.
of pick your poison, right?
Yeah. And I think, like, for me, so that goes to the whole like FOMO, right? Like, so everybody, not everybody, but people will
Yeah.
yell at me, like, why are you telling everybody? There is so much stuff. There's always going to be
Yes.
more stuff. Be very careful not to overbuy. I did that. Um, I only look when I actively need inventory because if you look every day, you're going to find stuff. I guarantee you're going to find stuff
Right.
every single day. And like we used to have like 4 and 5 shop Goodwill boxes showing up on the porch every single day. And like it didn't stop. And I mean, it would be like a month before I'd open some of them. And I wouldn't
Yep.
even know if I didn't get something because I was buying so much. That's another thing I would suggest
I
too.
did that
And
too.
is some of these auction companies will take 30 days to ship it to you. So don't
Hmm.
buy inventory expecting to get it right away. Some of them are excellent at their shipping and get it out fast, but others will take up to a month to ship your stuff. So don't count on like you buy it, you're going to have inventory in a week because it might take a long time. So what I would suggest, and I don't, if you're buying heavy, I would suggest that I at this point have 2 or 3 that are kind of my favorites that I can pretty much source as much as I need from, because one of them does weekly auctions, the other one does bi-weekly auctions, and they always have a lot of jewelry. Both of them do, but I also, again, I look at the other stuff. And but if you're buying a lot, I would make a list and check it off as that stuff comes in. This is funny, and I took a picture, and it was just a couple months ago. I had a box come from Shop Goodwill, and I haven't bought on Shop Goodwill in years. And I'm like, what in the heck is this? And I look, and it has a first class label, which first class was gone a long time ago, right? First
Right.
class label from Shop Goodwill. Open it up, it's sterling silver jewelry. It was only like 4 little pieces, but it was lost with USPS for 2 years. And I never knew. Like, I didn't miss it. I'm like, what the heck is this? Like, I don't remember buying it. So be careful if you're buying a lot. That's something I would caution you. Keep a record or a list, and when it comes in, mark it down that you have it, because like, I could have contacted them and they would have been able to track it and see I never got it,
Yeah,
but I
and if it's lost, you
I
could
didn't
have
even
probably
know it
got
was
your money
missing.
back.
Yeah, yeah. And then 2 years
Wow.
later, here comes a first class box when first class isn't even going anymore, and a Shop Goodwill. I'm like, I have not bought off of Shop Goodwill. It threw me for a loop. And I looked at the date and it was from 2022.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't bought off Shop Goodwill in a really long time, but, a friend of mine, I don't know if you know CJ, costume jeweler, he tells me that he buys off of there all the time and he finds amazing stuff.
I think a lot of people probably still do. And
Yeah,
I mean, there's just so many options. And I, for a while, only bought from Shop Goodwill, and then I went to High Bid. Occasionally, like, I'll get like a wild hair and want a specific jewelry maker. I'm not going to say the names because then that gives away my searches. But I'll go and I'll decide I want, just this maker, and I'll go search all the sites. So I'll search CT, I'll search Highbid, I'll search Shop Goodwill, because I get on this kick that I need jewelry by whoever, or a certain type. With a lot of my Southwest stuff, that's what I do too. When I run low, like, I have a Kachina display shelf. So when those run low, I will look for them everywhere and just get on a kick and go to all the different sites. But mainly I'll have a favorite one. But again, you can switch them. Everybody's like, oh, the prices are running high. Well, go somewhere else. And I stopped buying from my favorite auctions for a little while because stuff was getting run up, went away, came back, and now a lot of it's back down again. And I think, people are like me, where they're going to have their favorite, and you might have two people beside you that like jewelry that have decided they like that auction, and all of a sudden the prices are too high. So you have to be careful. I have gotten in trouble with costume stuff that looks high end, and so I way overpay, and I get it and nothing's marked and it's really not worth much.
right.
So be like, the sparkle gets me, and I'm like, oh, there's got to be like a Shriner or Juliana in here, and there's not, and I just paid
Yep,
four hundred
I've done that
dollars
too.
for brooches.
Yeah, that's happened to me too. Or sometimes you'll see one piece, and that one piece is the only thing in there that's decent. The whole rest of the bag or box is crap.
And
So
I think
I've
some of
had
them
that
might
happen.
do that on purpose.
I know, and so that's kind of, what I was dealing with Shop Goodwill, and so I kind of just stopped buying there. And then, like you said, everything was getting bid up. Everything was, $200 for a box that is probably maybe worth 60, $75 at the
Yeah.
most. And I just said, this is ridiculous. so, so,
Yeah, and I haven't checked in a while. Maybe it's like calmed back down. When I was doing a lot of live selling, I like to do like the theme shows. So I would go and look for like animal jewelry or gemstone jewelry, stuff like that, so I could do a theme sale. And that's when, again, I'm going to search for that same thing on all the sites. If I have this idea in my head that I want to do XYZ, then I'm going to go all over the place and try and find it.
okay. So that, like, I know you also said too, you touched on, maybe because when I was on your podcast, couple, was it last week? I don't remember. But anyway,
Yeah, a week ago, I
yeah, a
think.
week
Yeah.
ago. You had said that you are getting back into whatnot, right? Like you had taken a little break, and so now you're getting back into doing jewelry sales, or maybe just sales in general on
We did
whatnot.
jewelry. The ones we did last week were both jewelry. We did one on knickknacks and one on whatnot, and both
How'd
were
it
jewelry.
go?
Both were brooches. The knickknacks one went pretty well. We did almost $500 in about 4 hours, and then
Oh,
the
that's good.
whatnot one we did about 100 in an hour. So both of them were right at that $100 an hour mark, and that was with $2 starts. So and neither of them were scheduled either. So we did pretty decent. I have a whole room full of jewelry. Um, Brooches, earrings, necklaces that are just still sitting there from when I did the live selling before. And it was stuff that I didn't want to put on eBay that I bought, specifically for live selling. So the nice thing about starting back up is I don't have to go put money in. I can just
Right.
start doing sales again. And hopefully we're going to do at least two a week. And the majority of that's going to be jewelry, and if we do well, I'll start sourcing jewelry again. I still am sourcing, but I tend to source more individual higher end pieces than I do lots right now. And most of that's Native American signed pieces. But if I go back to Whatnot or, one of the district platforms, then I can start buying the lot. The lots are fun because you might find, that 100 or $200 or $300 piece in there. It's just like, but then you've got all this other stuff. And if you don't have an avenue to move all that other stuff, then you get stuck with it, which is how I have a whole room full.
Now, do you do the unboxings on Whatnot or during your
I
live
don't.
show?
I do not. My big thing with Whatnot is if I show something, I'm going to run it. And if I find a high dollar item when I'm opening that box, I know I don't want to sell it on auction. I know I want to list it,
Oh,
on
okay.
eBay. And like, I wouldn't like it if somebody showed me something and then didn't let me buy it. So I don't want to be that person. So that's the main reason that I'm not opening, because if I get $100 piece, I'm not going to start it at $2. I'm just, that doesn't make sense business wise. Now, if I find a $20, $30 piece, that I'm okay, starting at $2 and letting it go. But if I pull something out and show it to you, and then I'm like, oh crap, I'm going to run it. Like, I'm going to kick myself the whole time, but I'm going to run it. Because it would frustrate me if somebody's going through something. They're like, oh, this is worth $100. Let me take this out after
But
you
couldn't
just saw
you
it.
just start it at that? Because I've seen people do that. Like they'll find a cheap piece. Okay, we're going to start this at $2. They'll find something more expensive. Okay, we're going to start this at 40. And people are
We
fine with it.
could. I mean, yeah, we could. I have typically, though, with mine, because of how we run it, we just do like the like 100 quantity. So it's locked into that like $2 or $3
Oh,
start
okay.
price.
Okay.
And that's how we number everything. We have
Yeah.
envelopes that are numbered 1 through 100. So if we did that, it would end up being another item and another number. So it would be really hard
Right, right,
to
right.
track, if that makes sense. Because I don't think Whatnot allows you, like, once you set up those 100 quantity, I think you're locked into that start price. District's the same way too. Um, so we would have to start, like a different item, and then have either ours, we do like A1, A2. So we would have to have like B1, B2, maybe for some higher dollar. Um, if we were going to add them in. So I like, yeah, cause we tend to sell I like to sell like 100 pieces a show. So
Yeah.
I know a lot of people like write people's names on the bags and stuff, which I do that when I sell linens. I write their name on the poly bag, but I don't feel like with jewelry that would, because I get a lot of different buyers. When I do
Yeah.
linens and stuff, I tend to have, like a smaller number of buyers that are buying a lot.
Yeah. Well, I do know that you can edit like the start price before you run the auction. You can change it. Like if you put
Even if
it
it's
at five.
in the 100 quantity, it'll let you.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
I'm
because
gonna have to.
it'll say jewelry one, two, three, and so on. And then before you start, say auction
Oh, if
number
you
3.
list separately. So we don't list separately. Like, so mine's just one listing. I probably
Oh,
could list
okay.
them
So yeah,
separately
that's
and then
different.
I could edit them. But no, that's a good idea. Because you have the option to list separately. And if I did, yeah, I bet I could go in and
Yeah,
edit
you
them.
can
Smart,
change
right?
everything. You can change, like, let's say you sold an individual piece and then your next auction was a lot. You can go in there, change the starting price, change the shipping even right
See,
before
I
you,
didn't know that.
yeah, before you
I'm gonna
actually
have to
start the
look at
auction.
it.
So you literally can have different listings, even though it's, jewelry
The
piece
same,
one.
like in the
Yeah.
numerical order. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
how
I
I
didn't
did
know
it.
that.
And it's great because you have that flexibility. You have the flexibility to change it as you move through your show. And then
Yeah.
sometimes people will say too, oh, can you go back or can you add this in? And so you have the option to kind of do that as you're running your auctions.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good to know. But like I bet I would have to do the list separately in order to get that. So I'm gonna have to try that because I think we're gonna try and do another sale on Monday, and we wanted to do lots. And typically, what I've done with that is like I'll have my 1 through 100, and then I'll do jewelry lots 1 through 10 or whatever, and then we'll weigh
Hmm.
out like a pound or 2 pounds or whatever it is, and then I put them in like the gallon Ziploc bags and just number them like 1, 2, or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
that's how I
But we've
do
got
mine
a
too.
lot of craft jewelry. We've got a lot.
Yeah, but people like that though. I was just talking about that. Was it last week? Whenever, but because like I can sell like Joan Rivers jewelry, and if it's flawed or if it's missing a stone, it doesn't matter. Like people want Joan Rivers jewelry, and so I've
Yeah,
sold a
I've
bunch
done
of her
well.
stuff.
I've done well with it too.
Yeah, I've sold a bunch of her stuff, missing stones, and people don't care. So I'm not
Yeah.
saying every, designer is like that, but the thing is there's a buyer for it all somewhere
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah, for everything. Like,
Yeah.
because people do the crafts. People, like, I think a lot of jewelry makers too, they can use it for stones or beads or whatever.
Yeah, and people who do repairs, like they harvest the stones or the clasps of
Yeah.
pieces instead of, because some of the stuff, especially the vintage stuff, you can't buy those types of clasps anymore. Or if you
Yeah.
do, they don't. Sometimes the gold may not match something or
Like the
whatever.
tone. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've seen that too, where people who do repairs will buy pieces just to harvest the stones or the rhinestones or whatever, because
Yeah.
even if you go to Michael's, you'll get like 20 beads for like $8, and you can buy a
Yeah. And
whole.
I think it's hard to find like the colors and like the shapes and all of that
Right.
to fix them.
Yeah, yeah. So all right, so let's talk about, I guess, eBay then. So, how is business on eBay as it relates to selling jewelry or just reselling in general?
It's actually good. So, I mean, and this is general for all of our sales, but we're up 20% over the last month right now.
Oh, that's
And
great.
I had two sales last week. They were both Native American pieces. They were actually both Zuni. I sold a ring for 525, and then I sold a cuff for 225. So my two highest sales last week were both jewelry pieces. Both of them I had a while. They were not fast sales, and the ring I had priced. It was a gorgeous ring. I had it priced at 1,000, and I ended up taking 525, but I think I paid 150 for it, so I still made several
Oh,
hundred
that's
dollars
great.
on it. And I think I actually sold one of those on Whatnot, and let one of them go because I found a couple close together. They're like beautiful turquoise carved corn maidens, like the whole stone was carved, and then they had like a little coral, a little opal, like three little, inlaid. And so that one was a really good sale. So I haven't been listing a bunch. I did just buy some more Native American pieces last week that are being shipped. So hopefully they'll be here this weekend or next week. And Yeah, I go through spurts with the jewelry, with whether I'm looking
Yeah.
and buying, because I think, and we were talking about this on the podcast, on my podcast last night, you know, that I like being an everything seller. We were talking about, like, if you niche down, you learn so much, you're going to know that inside and out. But for me, even if I really love something, if I do so much of it, I get bored with it and I want to do something else. And I mean, jewelry's nice because there is, costume jewelry, there's sterling silver, gold is absolutely ridiculous. I wouldn't even begin to try and get into that purposefully on the prices are just insane. But so, I mean, there are different types of jewelry you can do, but I get bored. I get bored very easily. And then I leave I left jewelry alone for over a year, before Whatnot came to me and asked me to help them start with the jewelry category. And then I'm like, oh, and then I went crazy with jewelry again. And now I've kind of taken a little hiatus of buying it. Now I'm looking again. So
Yeah,
I'm back.
and the thing is when you're an everything seller, you're not limited to like the ebbs and flows and the fluctuations because certain categories do well in certain seasons and certain times of the year. And so as an everything seller, you kind of can take advantage of whatever is currently selling whenever you're selling.
I tell people all the time, like, we don't see an increase in Q4. We are pretty level throughout the whole year, which I would prefer. Like, I
Mhm.
can't imagine like 80% of my income coming in Q4. And a lot of people, that is the case. And I just cannot, like, I can't fathom that. I would rather have the same amount every single month, and which I mean is never going to be the same, but close, not like this insanely busy period and then be slow the rest of the year. I'd rather it be steady.
So, like, how many listings are you like doing a day then to maintain that balance of
Too
consistent?
many, too many.
Because
Too
I know
many are
you
not.
have employees, right, that help you.
Yeah, I have employees. I think she does. I have one that's full time for eBay. She does like 20 to 30 listings a day, but I'm the one that's editing and pricing them. So I'll review the titles for keywords, things like that. Um, I try to do that 20 to 30, but like right now I'm behind by over 400 listings from going to Vegas for the week. I did 10 a day when we were in Vegas. So I did make sure I did something, but I'm doing 10, she's doing 30. I'm getting like further and further behind. And then I got back, got the flu while I was in Vegas.
Oh
So
no.
the day after I got back, I was like fever. I was horribly ill. And then 2 months ago, I ended up in the hospital and had to have my gallbladder out. So all of that stuff has basically piled up all these drafts that are sitting there waiting for me to price them, because I don't let anybody else but me price. Just I'm scared with the knowledge. I feel like if and I have friends that they have employees that price. If you're doing jeans or t-shirts or something that's very simple, but when you get into the one-off antique stuff,
Yeah.
I don't trust somebody to price my stuff. And that has kind of that's what's backed it up. I talked to Trish over at List Perfectly, and she's like, "You need to let some," and I'm like, "No, like, I'm worried they're gonna, price a $500 rare item at $50,
Right.
and so I guess I should think about like something. I could probably look through the drafts and find stuff that I would be okay with somebody else pricing, but not like a blanket. Okay. I would have to be like, okay, all the t-shirts you can price, or something like that. Cause she's pointed out to me, like, without me, it stops, I'm the only one pricing. So I try to do 30 a day. I would like to do 40 a day, but I have not gotten to that just because I have so much else going on. It's hard, but
I
then I
know.
get behind. But she likes having that bank Because like she's like, well, then like if my employee went out for a month, I would have enough listings to do for the whole month without even an employee, being here. So she thinks you should have the bank. Me, I'm OCD and I'm like, no, I paid somebody to make those listings and they're not available for sale. That makes no sense to me. I feel like if I paid them to make them, I need to get them up as soon as possible. So there's two different ways, to really look at that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so ultimately I would like to do at least 30, but some days I don't do any. Today I've only done 10. I do try and do at least some, but there are days where I can't. Just with like yesterday was hard. I don't even I might not. Maybe I did 10 yesterday too. Like on Tuesdays, I go to the gym every morning. I've started going swimming at the springs every morning, which puts me not getting home till 10. So my work day doesn't start until 10 because I bring Dalton to school, then I go to the gym an hour, and then I go swim at the springs an hour. So my day is starting at 10 and I have to pick him up at 2. So really I have 4 hour window without a kid, which is not much. And
Yeah, it's
Tuesdays
not.
I record all my videos for the whole week. So that pretty much takes up like yesterday for me was a 15-hour day with no break
Oh,
at
wow.
all. Yeah, it was pretty. Every Tuesday is pretty much like that, which is rough.
Yeah, because you record your podcast Tuesday night,
Tuesdays.
so that ends
Yeah.
up being a really late day for you.
Yeah, so I started at 7 in the morning and ended at 10 at night. And that's pretty, I had a 10-minute break between recording my videos and starting the podcast last night.
Wow.
That's what it's been 2 weeks in a row, 2 weeks in a row. But like my dog, this is my, I'm not good. I told you I'm not good at hair and makeup. This is my hair and makeup compared to what my daughter does, which if you've seen that, that's a lot better. But I don't want to have her do my hair and makeup on multiple days. So that's why I've started recording my weekly videos on Tuesdays because then she does my hair and makeup, I record my videos, and then I have the podcast, and it's all one makeup and hair session, and I'm not having to have her do it multiple
Well, you're
times.
gonna need to learn to do your makeup, my friend.
She does so many things. It's so fun. Shannon, my friend, taught me like we did like powder and blush and like eyeshadow and
Hmm.
like and mascara. But like my daughter does like the contouring and like she uses like 10 different things on my face. I don't even know what she's putting on my face. Um like she just and then she sprays it and does the like whatever the stuff to like make it stay, the
Yes,
makeup.
it's called
But
setting
yeah,
spray.
yeah, that stuff. So she does all that, and does a lot more. And that, like, she was yelling at me yesterday. She's like, "Mom, you're gonna have to start drying your hair. I'm getting tired of it." Um, and I just I've never been a makeup person ever, like in my whole life. I like powder, lipstick, mascara. That's like the extent. Like not even eyeshadow. Like me learning to do eyeshadow, I felt like I looked like a clown sometimes. So she,
Well, it
I
just
need,
takes
I
practice.
need to
It
learn,
just takes
but she
practice.
lives with me, so I don't have to learn. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always like I do full makeup almost pretty much every day because that's just how I
That's how
do it.
Shannon is. That's how my
Yeah,
friend is.
I just
That's
do.
just what she does. She won't leave her house without her lashes on.
Yes, yes. I do lashes, I do everything. And because I consider myself high maintenance and I make no apologies for it. But I don't know. I've been doing this
But
for
like
so
it's hard.
long.
Like I'm going to the gym. I'm sweating. Like and lashes, I will tell you, come off at the gym when you're working out. They do.
Yeah, well,
I
you don't have to do full makeup at the gym. I don't think I do that. I mean, I do lip gloss,
But like,
but I
so
don't
I
do
just
like the
told you
full on
10.
powder and all.
How long does your makeup take? Like how long would you say?
Okay, if it's like a basic everyday look,
Yeah.
probably about 15-20 minutes. If I'm going full glam, an hour. And that's
Okay.
because I take my time and I use like a bazillion and 80,000 products.
like Brooke does. So that's the thing. I just told you, like, so for me, I'm going to the gym and now I'm going swimming and I'm already starting at 10. So could you imagine if I add in a half an hour to do makeup? Now I'm at 10:30. Like, it's
Well, I
just
mean,
I
that's
don't think the
why
time.
some women do like the microblading for the brows, they do lash extensions, they do, maybe a quick swipe of lip gloss, and they're good to go. So, I mean, if you want to start, doing makeup,
No,
there's
like
ways
I
that you
like the
can.
lashes, and I've thought about the extensions to see
Mhm.
if those will stay because like the glue on ones will not stay on my face because I sweat so much at the gym. So I'm gonna have to see about getting the extension. I don't know that I want to. I don't know. I'd like to know, but I don't know that I want to know enough to learn. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh. Yeah. I mean, because it's not everyone's jam. For me, I am obsessed with skincare and all of that stuff. So, and I love makeup and hair and I like all of that stuff. So
I
to
love it
me,
being done and how I look, but I don't like doing it.
I get it. I get it because it does take a commitment, right? It does take time. But I just love it. So to me, it doesn't feel like a chore. Like to me, it's like my self-care every morning. I feel good about
Yeah,
myself when I do. It's making time for me. You know what I mean? So
yeah. No, I
I
get
just
it.
I love it. I really do. So, and I like experimenting. I can have a glam look, I can have a professional look, I can look, you know, it's kind of fun too. So,
Yeah.
not that
Like I
not
said,
that we
I
went.
like how it looks, but I don't like doing it.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. I mean, you don't have to, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I have Brooke do it. Like if she was home today, I would have had her, but she was out grocery shopping. But yeah, like so I like how I look. I just don't like
Well,
I
and
try
you have really good
I do
skin.
okay.
When you have really
Yeah,
good
it's
skin,
decent. It's
it
decent.
it makes it even better, because you're not trying to correct like a bunch of flaws like acne or something like that. So,
Yeah.
when you have
She
really good
yelled at me
skin,
because she said I can't talk without like wrinkling my forehead. She's like, Mom, stop talking.
oh, well, that's an easy fix. I mean, if you want to do Botox, if not, there's other ways you can do it without, because
Yeah.
I have a little bit, but I
I
don't
have
do
a bunch.
Botox or fillers or anything like that.
I have a bunch. This is with Botox.
Okay, then you just need good skincare, and that'll go away in a
Yeah,
month.
I started doing like a night mask, which I
Yeah.
like.
Well, you're probably going to need something a little bit more aggressive than that. Like you need
Well,
like
I
some
mean, like
serums
I
and
think we talked about it. I go to cryotherapy. I'm getting cryotherapy, which I really like.
yeah, that's good.
Cryotherapy is nice, and I'm doing infrared too. So
Yeah, that's good.
I'm doing stuff. I should have started it like 25 years ago, but it's
I
okay.
know. Yeah, I've been doing skincare and beauty and stuff. Like I started doing my own when COVID hit because I used to go every month to my esthetician. She would do the whole facial and the extractions and all that. But then
Yeah.
COVID hit. And so what I did is I learned how to do all the stuff myself. So now I do it myself. I bought all the tools.
Oh,
I
that's
bought the steamer, the devices. It's like a whole
oh, you
thing.
have everything.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I'm my own esthetician now. But it's worth it.
That's
I
cool.
mean,
I'm trying to
honestly,
get Brooke to go to school for it.
yeah,
Is what I'm trying to get her to do.
yeah, it's worth every amount of effort and time you put into it because the results, you'll be so happy with your skin and especially as we get older. Um, like I think that's one of the things us as women, like we get really critical about ourselves, like, oh my God, a wrinkle, or oh my God.
Yeah. And it's us though. Most of the time it's us. Like nobody else like sees it or
Exactly.
notices it or even cares except for us. So yeah, no, I have been as far as like the products and like paying attention and doing the infrared and so I am, but like I should have a long time ago, but it's okay. It's okay. better late than never, right?
Yeah, yeah, and you can always like it's never too late to start.
Yeah, and improve it somewhat.
All right, there was something else I was going to ask you, and now I can't remember what it was because we started talking about makeup and skincare.
Makeup.
I mean, that's important too. I'm just going to say, makeup and skincare is
What were
important.
we were talking about eBay. We talked about the live selling.
Yeah,
We
we
talked
talked
about
about online auctions and stuff. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. Okay, so what about like, are you doing any yard sales, flea markets, um, as it relates to your sourcing, thrifting? I think you said you
I
do.
thrift. Well, and it's mainly for content. It's mainly for videos. I do
Yeah, on your
find a
second
lot.
channel, right?
Yeah, yeah, my cat's treasure hunting channel. And I like there's nothing like hands-on digging through and finding stuff, right?
I
Like there
agree.
online cannot replace that. I feel like thrifting is therapy for sure. So yes, I do. I think this Friday I'm going to like church stores. I absolutely love those. Their prices are amazing. Around me though, most of them don't have jewelry, which really really sucks. I don't even like the yard sales and stuff. I got lucky at one estate sale, and it was an estate sale of a jewelry seller, and that is
Oh
like the
wow.
last estate sale. I was there 2 hours early. I was waiting. I was in line because I like got an email out about it. So that one, and I ended up making them a deal and buying them out at the end of the estate sale. So I spent thousands of dollars at that estate sale.
That's so
But
cool though.
typically I can't find it. Um, so here the majority of stuff at the thrift stores is closed. There's not a ton of collectibles because I'm in North Florida, so it's very rural. Down in South Florida you can find a lot of glass and collectibles and really nice stuff, but not so much up here in North Florida. It's mainly clothing, which my poor employee, she absolutely hates clothing, so when I go thrifting she's like because she knows I'm going to come back with a car full of clothes. And we like this weekend we're going, they call it's called junk in the trunk. It's really cool. It's at a farm, so it's at like a you pick strawberry farm, and they take their whole field
Oh,
and
that
let
sounds
vendors
fun.
pull in. So you pull in, and like you can set up a table or whatever, and it's once a month, and it's really cool because they pay attention to the weather. And so like if it's raining Saturday, they'll just post on their Facebook, hey, we're changing it to Sunday. The weather's bad today. So it doesn't like end up on a crappy day. So that's this Saturday, and I love that one. I know like ADH Dave goes. I ran into him in American Arbitrage, Carrie and Dawn last time I went. I'll probably run into him again because they like going too. But the nice thing and actually last time I was there, I bought somebody out of their t-shirts, and it was because of a viewer. She saw me, I think she was a vendor, and her neighbor was trying to sell out of her vintage t-shirt. She was like, hey, I'm, not selling these. And she's like, oh, that's Kat, the nurse flipper. She'll want to buy them all. And I did. And I got an amazing friggin' deal on them. But the only reason I got called over and offered it was because she recognized me. So, I mean, the whole YouTube thing can, be beneficial. But yeah, so you really never know there. There are a lot of jewelry people there, but they're all pretty much all retail that I've seen.
Hmm.
Um, but you never know. Like I got a set of like cast iron enamelware for $1, and I think I
Oh
got that
wow.
on video. This guy, he was like at the very back, and I was looking, I'm like, and I already had like a whole cart full of stuff. And he's like $1 for all of them. And I'm like, man, why'd you just say that? Why did now I have to get them? It's a friggin' dollar. And I did. But yeah, so I mean, you can find deals there. It's fun. I wish that some of mine had jewelry. Like I can't think of any that honestly that do. Maybe like cheap, like really cheap costume stuff
Yeah,
that
like the
they,
Timu stuff and yeah.
yeah, yeah, like that's worth $5 if that.
Yeah.
paparazzi. Um, so I wish that we had stores. I know when I was in Phoenix for camp listing party 2 years ago, I went to the Deseret and it was like crazy. I don't know if you've seen it or if you go that much, but they have their counter where and it was in Phoenix, not Vegas, but there were people waiting. So they must do it and bring that jewelry out at like the same time on certain days. And they were like fighting for
Oh,
this like
wow.
jewelry jar. It was like, and it was a big jar, like a pickle jar, like the gallon pickle jar
Uh-huh.
full of jewelry. And there were two people at the counter and they were like totally fighting over who, and I mean, obviously I'm not going to get it. They had been standing there. So they had to know, that they were bringing out this jewelry. But
Yeah.
yeah, I
I've
wish I
seen
could
that
run
happen actually at like Savers and stuff where people are like hovering over the jewelry counter and
and
then,
just wait.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
And they
what?
just
Who
wait.
has like all day to just like hang out at the jewelry counter? I mean, I guess some people do.
Well, and honestly, it's hit or miss because sometimes the jewelry jars are just full of junk.
Right.
Other times
Oh,
it
I
can
just
be
remembered
great.
one place that does have jewelry. I just remembered one because they do the jars, but I've never seen a good piece of jewelry there.
Oh, really? Okay.
But they do the jars, but I've never seen anything that's caught my eye in one of their jars. Like I've never bought
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, and my Goodwills do jewelry jars still here. I've never well, I take that back. Probably about 2 years ago, you used to be able to find something decent in there, but lately, it's just
You think it's all going to shop Goodwill?
yeah. Oh, absolutely. At least the good stuff that they know of. Now, I have
Right.
found stuff where I guess they didn't know what it was, or whoever was pricing that day didn't know, and so I've
They
gotten
had a bad
lucky.
day.
But again, that's hit or miss. That doesn't happen every time I go in, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Like there's one Goodwill, and I rarely go there because I don't even find clothes because they price their clothes up.
Yeah.
Um, they might have them there. It's like an hour from me, but then I end up looking through. I Are you at a thrift store? Do you look through everything, or do you just
Yeah.
go like for whatever?
Yeah, I
I
do.
have to look at like every friggin' thing. So
Yeah,
there's no like 5 minutes at a thrift store with me. It's not like I
correct.
could run in and look at the purses and then leave. Like I'm like an hour, 2 hours per
Oh,
store.
yeah, yeah. That's what I do too. I always start at jewelry. That's the first place I start. Then I go over to hard goods. Then I end with clothes because clothes, it's if I feel like, digging.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I just kind of scan and see if I see anything, but
Yeah, I don't like look through because I don't like women's brands. I really do not know. So I will look through almost every single like men's button ups because I'm good with like the men's button ups and like t-shirts, sweaters, and jackets too, because those
mhm.
are typically where you'll find higher dollar stuff. That stuff I'll look through. But like women's clothes, unless I'm looking for myself, I like very rarely will look through unless something catches my eye.
Yeah, I'm like that with shoes. I never look at shoes because I get grossed out, by them. I
Yeah,
don't
I
like.
don't I don't do a lot. I say that, and I just listed like 30 pairs of shoes. But
Yeah, I don't even
we
like to touch shoes in the thrift because I get grossed
oh,
out
they're
by
probably
people's feet.
nasty. Yeah, they're probably nasty. Yeah,
Yeah.
ours were like in the box, like barely used Nikes that I like bought out a consignment
Oh, well, that's
store, and so
different.
we
That's
ended
different.
up
I'm talking about, how they have them on the rack
the
and they're,
nasty shit.
yeah,
Yeah,
like I just like I'm just so grossed out by that. Like I don't
yeah.
go over there. I don't go to that section at all.
I don't look at the shoes that not for that reason. I mean, like I don't know shoes, like I don't know
Yeah,
what
I
to
don't
look
know them that
for.
well either.
I know a little bit, but not enough to like really look at the shoes.
All right. Well, what are some final tips or advice you can give jewelry resellers that we haven't already talked about today? Anything.
I like my biggest thing lately has been sell through rate, right?
Yes.
But the hard thing with jewelry, if you don't have a maker, you really can't check the sell through rate. You could check similar items. So I would say check similar items and be patient. I don't know about you. I don't mark anything down. I will send off bigger offers. Like I told you, I took 500 for $1,000 ring. Um, so I would say be patient. I think a lot of people, like I've had people tell me they like lower the price after 2 weeks, and
Yeah.
be patient. Like you don't want to give away the stuff. It might take months for the right buyer to come along. If it's a static listing, that would probably be a big thing with jewelry, because a lot of especially my Native American, it's high dollar and it takes the right buyer. So especially the higher dollar jewelry is not, unless it's a really rare and demand piece, it's not going to be a fast selling thing.
Yeah,
But
typically jewelry
be
does not
prepared
sell
for it to
quickly.
take a while. Yeah,
Yeah, typically jewelry doesn't sell quickly. I tell people that, like, yes, every now and again something will or could, but in general, I say most jewelry takes anywhere from minimum 3 to 6 months, depending,
yeah,
um, and sometimes upwards of 2 years. I've had pieces sell 2 years later.
yeah,
So if you're looking to like have money flipping or turning
like
over
a
jewelry
quick
quick,
buck. Yeah,
yeah, you either have to have a ton of listings, so you're constantly in that time cycle,
yeah.
or you're going to have to sell something else because just jewelry by itself is not really, unless you're selling gold, right? Unless you're selling
Or if you
gold.
could find the name ones, but those are the ones that are hard to find. That's why they sell fast. Like the
Mhm.
Shriner brooches and the rare, like Alfred Philippe
Well,
Trafaris. Those
what
are
I've
hard to find.
noticed is like even Juliana, some of the prices, like it seems to
I
be,
have a Juliana that's been listed for 2 years, and
well,
it's
that's
not
what I
even
was going to
listed that
say. It
high.
seems like Juliana is starting to get a little saturated, and I don't know if it's because you notice the prices have come down. I remember when I used to search Juliana, like even a
It
year
was
ago,
really high.
it was high, and now you can find pieces for under $100, a couple brooches and sets and all that for
It's
150.
crazy.
Yeah,
I did a teapot or teacup video. I haven't done one in a year, I realized, and I recorded that yesterday. And same thing. Like the decrease in the values is
hmm,
crazy. It's crazy.
yeah.
So you
So
make sure to check comps when you like, especially if you're paying up, like for those named, like, I mean, I bought a Shriner brooch for $300 before, but the Shriner brooches that were selling for $2,000 2 years ago are now only selling for 800.
yeah,
So check the market if you're buying higher dollar stuff, because it fluctuates so much. Like if I went on what I knew and like research I did 2 years ago, I would lose money.
yeah. Yeah, well, I've noticed that too. Like I said, especially with Juliana, because that's one of the brands that I track regularly. And I just
Mhm.
noticed that wow, some of these brooches that were $500, $600, now I'm seeing them in the $200, $300
Yeah,
range. Even some of them less than that, which is
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
So,
I
so if
Yeah,
you're a
I think
collector, it
mine's
might
under
be
that.
a collector's
Yeah,
market now.
yeah. Now's the time for buying.
Yeah. So, well, all right then, Kat. I appreciate you taking the time to hang out and talk jewelry and whatever else we talked about.
And makeup
All
and
the
taste
things.
and everything. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, I had fun hanging out on your podcast too. So, it's always fun to connect with other resellers, whether it's
Yeah,
online
for
or
sure.
off. I just love this community, and I just can't thank you enough for sharing part of your day with me.
I appreciate you having me on. Thank you so
All
much.
right, so I will have all of Kat's information linked in the show notes for you, so that way you can make sure you follow her channels and bookmark her whatnot shows. And you're only selling on district. Are you in knickknacks? Is that the only community you're in?
Knickknacks and commons. So I do wholesale clothing lots for
Oh,
resellers
okay.
on commons. depends on district. So those are the only two right now. I
Okay.
haven't gotten, and I mean, I do jewelry. I do my jewelry on knickknacks because most of my jewelry is vintage. So I do jewelry on knickknacks. I haven't like branched out to other district platforms with the jewelry. Not yet. I'm not saying I won't.
Yeah, yeah. I don't sell on knickknacks because I've never really applied, and I only sell in the two jewelry communities on there that I know
Yeah,
of. That I know the ladies who run them. So
yeah,
that's the only that's the only place I sell my jewelry on District.
yeah.
So, all right then, Kat. Thanks again, and I will chat with you soon.
All right. Bye, guys.